Okay, so I think that it's time to start. I'd like to welcome all of you to Sefaria 101. This is an introductory webinar introducing you to the wonderful world of Sefaria. I'm Rachel Buckman, Sefaria's Education Associate, and with me is Chava Tzemach, our Communications and Marketing Manager. Throughout the webinar, we ask that you keep yourself on mute. And if you have questions, you can write them in the chat box. Chava will be watching those, and periodically throughout the webinar, I'll be stopping and Chava will ask questions and I'll take the questions. And also at the end, if you, anyone who'd like to stay on longer and ask a few more questions, you are welcome to do that. I want to one more time before I leave these screens, I want to remind you that we have closed captioning available. You can click the CC button on the bottom of your screen to enable the captions. And I'd like to thank our captioning person for making this available for all of us today. I'm going to start with the Sefaria Library page and tell you a little bit about Sefaria before I get started and a little bit about what we're going to be doing on this webinar. At Sefaria, we're building an extensive library of Jewish texts and the tools to go with it. We've been around for about 7 years and we keep growing. And in fact, recently, Sefaria has been getting about 460,000 individual users a month visiting our site. Today, we're going to go on a guided tour of Sefaria, including the basics, features you might not be aware of, and our newest features that we've recently added. I want to note here that although we will talk about Sefaria source sheets and where you can find them, we are not going to be covering how to create them. That is a whole separate webinar, which we have offered in the past and we'll be offering in the future, especially if you're interested, you can write in the chat box or send us an email. I invite you to play along on your own devices as we take the tour. I will be working on the website. We also, as you may know, have an app, a free app on iOS app and Android. If you're on the app, things will look a little bit different than what you're seeing on the screen. And every so often there will be a difference that I will point out to you as we go along. Of course, you'll want some support as you experiment on your own. So links to our helpline, which is hello@sefaria.org, and our brand new tutorial group are on the sheet. And again, the address for the sheet is in the chat. And there you have a lot of information and links that will help you afterwards. This webinar is just the beginning of your Sefaria journey. I won't be able to cover it all here. If you're interested in a follow-up webinar, please let us know in the chat or in an email. So to begin our tour, the experience of learning Torah on Sefaria is enriched by the ability with the click of a mouse to dig deeper and deeper into texts. So let's start with opening a text that I know that I want to look for. So let's say I know that I would like to open to Deuteronomy 21:10 because that's the first verse in this week's Torah portion. So I can type it in the search bar, and every screen on Sefaria has a search bar in the top left where you can maybe see I'm circling with the cursor. We also, by the way, have a Hebrew website, which is www.sefaria.org. So, yeah, .org.il. And then everything there is switched. So the search bar on the left will be on the right. Everything that I say is left is right, right is left. But I'm going to be talking about the English website. So if I want to open to a text that I know which text I would like, I'm going to click on Deuteronomy. I'm going to type Deuteronomy. And I'm going to put 21:10 because I happen to know that that's exactly what I want. And in a minute, I'm going to hit enter or return. I could type in Hebrew. I can type in English. I can make spelling mistakes, and the drop-down menu will probably catch it. If I don't have a Hebrew keyboard on my computer, every search bar has this keyboard on the right here. And if I click on that, it opens a Hebrew keyboard and I can just click on the keys. So I'm going to write Deuteronomy 21:10 and press enter. And it takes me immediately to the place that I wanted. And now the choices begin. So here I am It does say Ki Tetse. This is the first verse in the Torah reading Ki Tetse, which happens to be this week. And I would like to call your attention to this A Aleph button in the top right. This is on the top right of every text. Again, on Hebrew, it's on the top left. And if I click on it, it gives me many options of how I want to view the text on my screen. So I have the language option. I have an A for if I'd like to see it in English only. I have an Aleph if I would like Hebrew only. And I have an A Aleph if I would like a bilingual text. Of course, not all of our texts are available with an English translation. So if we don't have English, it doesn't matter how many times you click the A, it's not going to appear. This is not translating the site. It is just showing you the English or the Hebrew or both together. So I have it on bilingual right now. And when you're in bilingual, you have other choices. You can choose how you want the layout. So this left one is what we call stacked, which means that the Hebrew is on the top and the English is on the bottom. And that's what we have right here. You also could have it side by side with the Hebrew on the left or the Hebrew on the right. I'll click one of these to show you what that looks like. And here we have the Hebrew on the left, the English on the right. And this is another choice that you have. You also could have it switched. Over here, you would have the English on the left and the Hebrew on the right. You also can change the font size. So I can keep clicking this to make it larger and larger, and I can click it to make it smaller. And if you're in the Torah where you have aliyot, I can choose to have the aliyot marked so that I can see them. That would be turning it on. Or I can turn them off if I rather not see, if it doesn't matter to me where the breaks are for the aliyot. This, of course, is only in the Torah. And then I also have the choice for vocalization. Again, this is for the Torah because, as you will see in a minute, it has choices that for other texts we don't have. So I can choose this one on the right is the Aleph is just the letters with no vowels. I can choose the letters with the vowels, and I'm going to click this one, which is the letters with the vowels and the cantillation, the tropes. So I can choose however I would like to see it, and I can change my mind. Whatever I would like. I'd like to go back to this layout. That's my preferred layout, and I can make all of those choices for every text that we have. Again, the same thing. Like you can't click the A and get English if we don't have an English text. You can't click on the vowels if we don't have a vocalized text. But this is what it will be showing from our library. So that's a very important menu, the A Aleph menu in the top right. Also on the app, we have that as well. And now we get to the real benefit of studying on Sefaria. If all of our texts, since we're digitized, they're all connected together. And if I click on a verse, I'm gonna click on this first verse, and it's gonna open the resource panel or the sidebar on the right. Now, the difference with the app is that the resource panel will be on the bottom. But here it's on the right, and we have the whole list of our different sections. I call them like if you're thinking of a library, it's sort of like a shelf. So we have the commentary shelf and the Targum shelf and the Talmud shelf. And here we have all of the connections. So every place, because Jewish texts are all in conversation with each other, and it's a whole big dialogue across the millennia. And so we tie them together. If one text mentions another one, it's going to be found from our computers are going to find that and link them together. So you can go from one to another to another. So we're going to start with the commentary. That's where people often like to start. So here's the first verse, and then I'm going to click on commentary, and I'm going to see all of the different commentaries that Sefaria hosts on our site. And you'll see that it is quite an extensive list. This is everything that's available for the book that we've chosen. For the Torah, this is Deuteronomy, Devarim. So for the Torah, we have a very big list of commentators that you can go through. You'll notice, I want to point out a few things about this. First, you will notice that some of them, are the letters EN next to it. This is not on the app. This is only on the website. The EN indicates that we host a complete English translation. So we have a complete English translation of Rashi on the book of Deuteronomy. I'll tell you also that we have a whole English translation of Rashi for the whole Torah. But this really only tells you for the book that we're in. We have of Ibn Ezra, a full English translation, and here you can keep seeing that. Now, if it's in black letters, that means that that commentator has something to say about that verse. And in fact, Rashi has two things to say, which is why the number 2 is in parentheses. Ibn Ezra has one thing. If we look at Ramban, he's in gray. That indicates that we have that text, but he had nothing to say on this verse. The reason you would want that is if you didn't see it, you would wonder, well, maybe we just don't have it. And that's why it's not there. So this way you know that, yes, we do have Ramban's commentary, but he has nothing to say on this verse. And so all the way through, you'll see some in black and some in gray. And that is what it is indicating. In the parentheses, it tells you how many comments. So I'm going to click on Rashi, and I'm going to open this. And now we said that he had 2 comments. So there's his first one, and there's his second one. This one is in English. And if I go to the top right, there's an aleph, and that will turn it into the Hebrew. You'll notice it's not bilingual yet, but we will get there. At this level, it's just either Hebrew or in English. I can read that, I can go back, and now let's say I'd like to pick Ibn Ezra, and I'd like to see what he has to say. And I open Ibn Ezra, and you can see that there are 2 tabs on the top. There's the Ibn Ezra tab, and I might want to go back and see what Rashi had to say, and I go back to Rashi. And I can go back to Ibn Ezra, and as you can imagine, I can keep doing that, and I would have a whole lot of tabs, and I can easily toggle between them. But let's say that I would like to see this Rashi in its full library. Here, it's only this verse. I can't go back to the verse before or ahead to the other one. So on the bottom, it says open, and I'm going to click on it, and now I'm opening it in its full version in the library. So here we have what he has to say on the verse. Here's his first one, and here's his second one. And now I have a full version. I have the A aleph. I can toggle, I can change whatever I like. Also, you will notice, I'm going to show you that Rashi here also mentioned other things. So I can now find the connection between the Rashi text and what else is in our library. So now I click. Now on the app, because you're on your phone, you don't have room to do this, so you can only do one at a time. On your computer, you can keep going in this fashion as long as your computer screen can handle it. So we have the verse in Deuteronomy. I'm actually on the wrong verse. You might have noticed that. I'm going to get to the right verse. Okay, so now we are on 21:10 in Deuteronomy. Here's 21:10 in Rashi. And next to us, we have the commentary on Rashi, because there are commentators, these are called super commentaries, commentators who commentated on Rashi, and I can open them up. And I also can, you'll notice that Rashi here quoted something else, and that's the Midrash right here. And I click on Midrash, and now I can see, because he just mentioned it or put a tiny piece, I might want to see the whole piece. I might want to see the context of it. So I can open it on the side, and I can open it in full. And as I said, I can just keep going and keep going and keep going. And this is really what sets you down the path to learning on Sefaria. I can also close these tabs with an X, and I can go in a different direction. This time, let's say I want to start with a different commentator, or I want to see what the Talmud, which places in the Talmud uses this verse. And I can just be discovering and discovering. So again, let me just remind us how we got here. We typed the verse because we knew exactly what we wanted. We typed it in the search bar, and then we started traveling. Also, you can type the name of the parsha in the search bar, and it'll take you right to the parsha. But what happens when I don't really, no, that'll be in a second, sorry. I'm going to show you another way. If I don't want to type it here in the search bar, I can show you another way to get to the text. If you look on the screen at the top left, you have the 3 horizontal bars, which is the hamburger. And if I click on the hamburger, it will always take me to the library page. This is where we started. And here we have all those shelves that I talked about. Here are most of them, and then we click more, and we have all of them. So let's say that I would like to open the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. So I'm going to click on Mishnah, and I have all of the different Masechta, the different tractates, and Pirkei Avot is down here, and I'm going to click on Pirkei Avot, and it opens it up for me, but it's not exactly where I wanted to go. First of all, I want Hebrew English, so I'm going to go to the A Aleph, put Hebrew English. And then this is another, we've pointed out, let me just review for a second. We've pointed out the hamburger that takes us to the library page, the search bar, which is very helpful any place. We have the A Aleph, and now here's another really important spot on every single text in our library is the name of the text in the header. If I click on it, I open the table of contents. The table of contents gives me lots of information, and it helps me to navigate through the book, just as a table of contents would in anything. It's very, very helpful. So here I have the name of the book. I have a little bit about the book. And then I have the chapters. Pirkei Avot only has 6 chapters, but if you can imagine something that has 112 chapters, it's much easier to navigate it that way. So I'm going to choose one, and now I have the first Mishnah of Pirkei Avot. And I got there from our library page, and I used our table of contents to help us to get there. So now I have just given you tons of information. So I'm going to take a break in case there are any questions and see what I can do before we go on.
All right. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
So there's a couple questions. One, can you, using the table of contents, but also the sidebar, can you show us how we can change the translation that we're viewing?
Sure.
Find out exactly who translated it?
Sure. Okay. So those are, I mean, kind of both one and the same, but I'll show you 2 ways to do this. One of the great things also about Sefaria is that we have a variety of versions of things. We have more than one. It depends on what. Certainly in Tanakh, we have the most. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to go back to our Tanakh example. I'll go back to where we were here. So one way I can find out information is from the table of contents. And here, you have that it's from our default English translation of Tanakh is the JPS 1985. It gives you copyright information, and so you can see it there as well. And we do have different versions that are here. You can click on that, but I would rather show you a different place to make your changes. And this is on the app and on the website. So if I click in the sidebar and scroll down, I can, first of all, I have about, which tells me about the book that I'm reading. It tells me about the version that I'm using. And this is our newest thing, is for some of the books, you can also link to, you can click here, which will take you to the website of JPS if you want to purchase a hard copy book. So that's in about, but I also can look in translations. And if I click translations, we see that we have 7 English translations. So it's going to default to the JPS 1985, and it tells you that's the current translation. But we also have the JPS 1917. We have the Rashi Chumash. We have the Koren. So let's say I want to change it to the Koren. I just click select translation. It's going to always go to English. I want it back to bilingual. I can do that. I can move it back to bilingual. I can also see all of them. We also actually, we have here are the different versions, as I mentioned, that the having different vowels or not, those are different versions. We also have other languages. For Tanakh, we have several. We have Farsi, we have German, French, Polish, we are hoping Yiddish. We're hoping to be adding additional languages in the future, and that's where you would do it. On the app, right now, it's not called translations, it's called versions. It's the same thing. Okay, I think I covered that one.
Yep, and I think that is all we have. And actually, no, unfortunately, we don't have Spanish translations yet, but hopefully we will soon. At some point, we want to have a lot more languages available. So if there's any other questions, no?
Just a quick question. When you click on the sidebar and
Yes.
you click on a commentary, does it immediately go side by side with the text?
if I click on the commentary, the shorter version is going to immediately go side by side with the text. And when I open it, then I'm going to get, well, this one jumped up, so that can happen, but mostly yes. But you can see that it's highlighted.
Thank you.
It can happen, yeah, and that was fine. But if you can actually try to type the questions, that would be helpful. I'm going to keep going. If you continue having questions, just keep typing away. I want to now talk about, so we talked about when you know what text you want. But another fantastic thing about Sefaria is that you can find things that you didn't even know that you wanted. You could be sitting in a physical library. Well, I mean, not now, but in the days when we sat in physical libraries, you can have all those books around you and you don't necessarily know what to pull off the shelf. And so that is a real benefit of Sefaria, because we're going to help you find what to pull off the shelf. So let's start with, let's say I'm interested in something about Rosh Hashanah, but I don't really know where to start. So I'm going to start in the search bar and I'm going to click. And again, I do have, if I wanted to look in Hebrew, I could use my Hebrew keyboard. I could type in Hebrew. I'm going to write Rosh Hashanah. You also can spell it. I'm sure if I spelled it a different way, it's going to still give me the drop down. I don't even have to spell it the whole way. So I don't have to even think about, do I want to put that H on the end or not? I'm going to show you a few of the, when you see the drop down menu, we have a few different icons. So the book means it's a book. So in this case, Rosh Hashanah, the book, is the tractate of Rosh Hashanah in the Talmud. We have hashtags. That's what I'm going to do in a minute. So I'll tell you about that. And we have these feathers, like a quill. And that is for learning about the book or the author. So I'm going to go to hashtag Rosh Hashanah. Hashtag Rosh Hashanah is going to take me to a topics page. This is one of our newer features that has changed searching forever and made it so much easier and so much richer for us. So here you see the name of the topic was Rosh Hashanah. It's under holidays. Most topics, and by the way, we have thousands of topics pages. Most of them have a short description, some a little longer, some of them don't have, of what the topic is. And then it lists sources in sheets. So let's do sources first. So it is going to show us the most common sources having to do with that topic. So if I don't even know where to start about Rosh Hashanah, it's going to show me this verse in Leviticus, these verses, and these are the verses where Rosh Hashanah is first mentioned in the Torah. And then I'm going to go further and I see another Leviticus, and then I go further and here's something from the Talmud about Rosh Hashanah. And now I have something in Genesis, which I might not understand why that's there, but then I'm going to figure out that this is the Torah reading for the second day of Rosh Hashanah, which is a very famous Torah reading, the binding of Isaac. And that's what these next two sources are. And here's Psalms, which is talking about the shofar. And so it gives you all kinds of texts. I can click on them, will take me right into the regular library. But I can just also look through them. If there's something that maybe I'm skimming through and I want to look at it later, I can click on the star icon, and I want to point your attention to the star icon because you'll see that other places. I'll show you later on where you'll see it. And the star always means that you're saving it. This is our bookmark feature. So it is saving it, and I click on it, and now that text is saved. So I can go back to it later, or whatever I would like. So this is how I find the text. Let me show you where it is saved. I'm going to go back to the library page. And here, and this is something, by the way, this is something that you need to be logged in. So you have to have a free Sefaria account. I'll talk about that at the end. Very easy to do. And you have to be logged in order to save. It's also synced with your app. So if you save something, let's say you're out and about and you want to save something on your app, and then later you're at your laptop and you want to see it there, it's synced together if you're logged in, which is the only way you can save. If I click on saved, now I see all of my saved text, and here was this text that I just saved. If I'm done with it and I don't want to save it anymore, again, if I clicked on it, it would take me right into the library. If I don't want to continue with it, I unclick. Whoops, it took me right in. I unclick it. Unclick it. I'm sorry, I'm using a very big cursor. And now it's unsaved and it's not in my saved. If I go back, it's not there anymore in my saved in my list of saved texts. This is if you're studying something and you come to the end and you want to remember for tomorrow where you were, you can bookmark something. So going back to that Rosh Hashanah page, the topics page. So I could look at all of these sources. I also can filter the sources. So I click filter. I could put a second search topic. Let's say I'm only interested in Rosh Hashanah, but about the shofar, I could put shofar. I also, it's going to default to relevance, which means that it's the most common texts that go with it, or I could do chronological. This is really good. Let's say I'm researching something, maybe a halakha, a piece of Jewish law. I might want to do it chronologically because I would start maybe with the Torah text and see how that text has developed over the centuries through other codes of law. So I might want chronological, I might want relevance. You'll play around with it and see whatever you like. We also have sheets. I'm going to click on this. I'll talk about sheets after the next question break. So I'm just going to mention that this is where you would find them. These are sheets that have been tagged Rosh Hashanah, and I can see all of them. I also can save sheets the same way I can save a text because they're part of our library as well. And then on the side, we have related texts, so related topics. So let's say I'm interested in Rosh Hashanah, and now that I've been delving around a little bit, I think I'd like to narrow it down to talk about Tashlich. And I can click there, and now I have Tashlich, or maybe I didn't even know what Tashlich was, and now I clicked on it, and I get a nice explanation. I get my sources for Tashlich, I get my source sheets, and so this is really a great way to start a journey. We have, if I go back to the library page, underneath, we've talked about saved. We also have, if you're logged in, it also will keep your history so you can see where you've been, which is a lot of fun. It shows me here all the different texts that we've opened, but maybe I opened something, I read something, and I can't remember what it was a week later that I read. I can go back and I can go and find a text that I was looking at before. So I also have history. That's on my library page. So now I have my library, my shelves, and here's another place to find great things to study, and that's the calendar page. Here we make it nice and easy. You can just go from the library page, you can go to Parshat HaShavua, you can go to the weekly Torah portion, you can go to the Haftorah, today's Daf Yomi, the Talmud page of the day. 929 is the Tanakh, the Bible chapter of the day. And then there are all kinds of calendars that people use to study. Some people learn a daily Mishnah, some people learn a daily Rambam. And so these are the calendars that we've put on, and you can click on them and it'll take you immediately to that day's text. Then we have another way to look at the topics if you don't want to type in the search bar. Here we have, and I can press more, we have even more. Let's say, and this is great for browsing when you just have some free time and you want to learn something new. I'd like to learn about a ritual object. So I'm going to click on it. And here's all kinds of ritual objects. And so let's say I'm really looking ahead and I want to learn about the lulav, and I click on it and it takes me to the lulav topics page. It will also have a search bar on there. I'll go back one more time. Hope I'm not making you too dizzy. If I click on more, and I click on all topics, then I have a search bar and I can put the topic search there. And then these are the most used ones. And this just keeps going and going because we have so many topics. So that is a great way to discover a text that you maybe would never have found before. And that's through our topics page and our calendar. So I will stop before we do sheets. So no sheets questions. I'm going to stop for questions. Do we have any questions? Okay. Okay, I'm going to just keep going then. Okay, so let's talk about sheets. So I've been kind of avoiding it, not avoiding it just because I want to pay close attention to them because they're a wonderful part of our library and a part where you can be involved in our library. So I'm going to put one up just so that we have a nice background while I start talking about them. So we are not going to be making sheets today, and I'm not going to be discussing making sheets today because that is a separate webinar. But what I do want to do is show you how they can be a part of your learning, and hopefully excite you to learn how to make sheets and add them to the Sefaria library. So a sheet is a collection of sources from our library. They can be sources from our library. They can be outside text, things that you have a book or you find something online that you would like to add. They can be media. They can be images. They can be a YouTube video. And they can also, you can have your own comments on them. They are dynamic. They can always be edited. So you can use it and you find something, you made a sheet and then later on you found something that you'd like to add to it. You can always add to it. They can be collaborative. You can set them so that other people can add to your sheet or other people can edit. And although when you make a sheet, it defaults to being private, you can also make it public. And we're going to be looking at the public sheets. Public sheets are great, and they become a part of the library. I'm going to show you how you find them within the library as well. But I want to show you a few examples of sheets so you get an idea of what you can do with them. So this is a sheet that we made at Sefaria. It's also in a group that you might be interested in called Sweet Torah for the New Year, which is a collection of very nice Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur source sheets that you might find something interesting. This is what we among ourselves call a narrative source sheet, because the idea of this sheet is that a person could read it and learn everything by themselves from this sheet. So we started with an introduction, we added an image, we have some questions, and then we have a text. One thing about sheets, which makes it different than any printed sort of source sheet, is you're always in the library. So let's say I'm reading this and I have just this one verse, and I say to myself, I'd really like to see the context. I'd like to see the whole chapter, or I'd like to see what commentaries there are on it. I can always click on it, and here it is in the library, the full verse. And if I want to see what Rashi has to say on it or any other commentator, I can click on it. We'll pick on somebody else today, Ramban, and I can see that. And so I can keep going. While I'm in my sheet, I can continue looking through the library because I'm always connected. And there's guiding questions, there's more text. All of these, this is an example of a sheet that was written with the idea that somebody could learn something on their own. We also can add all kinds of media. This is a sheet that we made in honor of launching our group with Nechama Leibowitz's Gilyonot. She was the originator of the source sheet. And so we have her sheets on our site, and we wanted to give a little background for people. So here we have an image, and we have information about her, and we have another. This one actually doesn't link to anything, any text in our library, because it's not a text-based sheet, but it does have a video. So her biographer, Yael Unterman, did a very nice lecture that we thought maybe people would like to watch this lecture. And so it's really simple, easy to add a YouTube video. And so we added it, and when you watch it, what's also really nice is when I click on this, it's going to start, but it keeps you in the sheet, which is really nice if you do have text and maybe a short video, or you could have you could give a lesson, give a shiur, and record it and have it there, and people have access to the text. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll see that it's going to start. Okay, and it will keep you within the sheet. So that's the media that you can add to a sheet. And the last one that I want to show you is that this one highlights, this is also in our Sweet Torah for the New Year group by a rabbi who makes wonderful sheets. And that's another thing is, I'll show you how to do that in a second. If there's somebody that makes sheets that you like, you can follow them. And every time they publish a new sheet, you'll get an email to alert you because there might be some new piece of Torah that you would like to learn. So he does really great sheets. These are narrative also, so that you can learn on your own. But he brought in outside text. So he has a poem and he has another poem, and you can put them in. And these all become part of the library. Let me show you how you follow somebody. So if I click on his name, it will tell me something about him. And that's another thing, is sometimes you're interested in knowing who wrote that sheet. You can find out if the person has filled out their profile, you will see that, and he has, which is very nice. And I can click follow, and now I'm following him, and every time he publishes a new one, I'll get an email. I also can see all of his public source sheets. So, you know, when someone writes one sheet that you like, chances are they have more sheets that you like, and so that's really great. So let's look and see how you find them in the library. So let's go back to the library, and I'm going to open I'm going to go to Talmud this time. I'm open Brachot, and here I am on the first page of the Talmud, and I'm going to open the resource panel, and here you have all the things we talked about before. And now I'm going to go down a little bit further, and you see sheets, and it shows you how many sheets. This is 27 public source sheets that have used this text on their sheet. If I click it, I can now, it'll always have your own first if you have it, and then it will have the public sheets that have used this text. And I can look around and I can say, oh, that looks interesting. And I can pick whatever I would like and open it up. And let me pick one. So this Intro to Jewish Prayer, let's say I'd like to see what that's about. And I'm going to click it. And here we have the text. It happens to be at the top. If it were further down, it would show you first the text that was in the library, and then you can scroll. And I can see what he did with the text. So that's where I find the text in the library. So people's public sheets become a part of the library, which is a great way to have their voices. A lot of women write sheets, a lot of modern, I mean, obviously it's all modern, and different insights from all different points of view. If I go down further, I see that I have a link to topics. Will tell me the topics pages that have this section of text on it. There are 6 topic pages that have this from Brachot, laws of blessings, about the Shema, because this talks about the Shema, prayer, priesthood, truma. So that's another thing from the resource panel. The last one I want to show you is one of our newest and I think most wonderful ways to be exposed to more modern Torah is web pages. So for a while we've had a linker that people who do blogs or have websites with Jewish text could use our linker, and when they cite a text, they have put some code in their site and it links to us. Well, we've just started now to go the other way. So they've linked to us and now we link to them. So there are 134 web pages that use our linker that have used this very popular piece of text. So I'm going to click on it and you can see, and this is growing, we're adding organizations, websites that have our linker all the time. A really great variety. We have My Jewish Learning, which is wonderful for beginners. We have the virtual Beit Midrash, which is great for more advanced learners. I'm going to look at this one, Torah in Motion, which is Rabbi Jay Kelman in Toronto, and his stuff is great. He was a very early adopter of our linker, and you'll see that there are 19 articles that he has that uses this text. I'm going to go to this one, Brachot 2, who's on first, and I'm going to click on it, and it takes me to his website. And you can see where it's hyperlinked, Brachot 2a. Well, that's the one that we were on. That for sure is, but he uses other texts in his lesson. So I can read this, which is a great way for me to learn that piece of text with his insights. And here he has added Avot from Pirkei Avot. And if I click on it, it shows me the text. He put just a tiny bit. I can go to the full text. And if I really would like to do more, I can click read more and it will take me into another tab and it will show me the whole text. So that is the linker. And there's so much that you can discover for yourselves with these web pages. So again, it's gonna, oh, okay, here it is. And there's so many different articles about this page. And you'll see that many, this happens to be very popular, but even less popular ones, it's mentioned someplace and there's something that you can read. So, so more places to learn modern Torah, to add your own voice. When you learn how to add a source sheet and make it public, you can add it. I'm going to stop another time. Chava?
Hello. I don't know if we have any questions. I answered some questions in the chat that we had about sheets. So just as a clarification, sheets are truly user created content. So we are not controlling the content that's in the sheets as long as it doesn't violate our terms of service, meaning hopefully there's no hate speech or anything like that happening. Those sheets we will delete. Please, if you see something that's hate speech, let us know. We'll take it down. But other than that, you have full control over
Which I don't think we've had to ever do, by the way.
Yeah,
So we
actually.
have really wonderful users.
And so you are welcome to create content, whatever kind of content you want. And not every sheet will be for you. There's some sheets that will be really interesting for me, but others that won't be, or some that I might not agree with the content, but it's really just a wonderful library to choose from. And you definitely have control over who can add to or edit your sheets. That's sort of a different workshop. We have a webinar. I can put the link in the chat that you can watch a recorded webinar on creating source sheets, and that will show you exactly how to make your sheet either viewable or editable by other people.
And also on the sheet that we sent you, that you have for this, there's also our FAQ group, and there is a sheet on making sheets. And there are all kinds of sheets to answer questions that you might have. And if you start trying to do it and you have questions, you can always email us at hello@sefaria.org. So that is, we're always there to help you, but we are going to do that on another one. I'm going to continue talking about just a couple more things.
We have just one more question before we move on. That's okay. So is there any way to organize your saved items?
So right now there isn't. That's something that we're talking about, but for right now it goes in order of how you save them. But that could be something in the future, perhaps. Okay, we ready to go on?
I think so.
Okay, so I mentioned about making an account several times. So I want to first answer the question, why make an account? So we've talked about some of those things. So most of everything that I showed you today, except for source sheets and the save and the history, most of everything I showed you, you can do without an account. But if you have an account, then you can use all of the features. And I'll show you a couple more. So you can create source sheets, you can save your texts and save sheets. You can view your reading history, which I showed you on the library page. I'm going to go to, if I click on the Sefaria with our little logo on the top, it's going to take me to a home page. This is more personalized. Yours will look different than mine. Here on the top right, this means I'm logged in. This is my profile button, which will take me to my profile page. On my profile page, I have a few fun things. First of all, I have a list of all of my sheets that I have made. I have a list of my groups. We didn't talk about groups, that's more advanced. We also have a list of the notes that I've kept. So this notes is another part that is only if you're logged in, and you can leave notes on the library. I guess I'll show you that since I did mention it. So if I go into anything in the library on the sidebar, it says notes. I click on notes. I'm not going to do the whole thing now. I wrote a note. I wrote add note. And one of the places that I can see the notes that I have written is here. Also attached to the library, every place I wrote a note, just like how you've seen it, we put in parentheses if there's a sheet, we put in parentheses if there's a text, we put in parentheses if there's a note. So here I do have, were some examples of some notes that I wrote. So I demo a lot. So sometimes my note is just, here's my note. Okay, so that's something also, but this is a really fun thing. It's the Torah tracker. And this is only for when I'm logged in, and I can click on it and I can see the amount of what I've been doing on the site. I can see where I'm spending my time. I might look at this and say, wow, I'm doing a lot of Talmud, but I'm not doing as much Tanakh. I might want to up my Tanakh learning. It tells me kind of what I'm doing, my favorite texts, where I've been the most, my favorite sheets, and my most popular sheets. So the sheets that I have that have had the most viewers on the site. So that's something that you can only do with an account. So those are some of the things. And here, if you have an account, this will be a little personalized for you. And this is our home page. So here you can go to the library. I'm going down the right-hand side. Sorry if I'm talking quickly now. Here you can make a sheet. There are other places on the site that say that you can start a sheet. You'll find that in the other webinar and in our FAQ sheets. You can, I didn't tell you how you do it. So I'm logged in right now, but if I weren't logged in, it would say sign up, log in. I would click on sign up. I put an email address and a password, and then I have to click something to show that I'm a person, and that's all there is to it. You can also, from here, you can sign up for our newsletter. We have a general newsletter that comes out before holidays. We get newsletters from us when we have a new announcement of something big that we're adding to our site. We just sent out a great one from the engineering team talking about some of the changes and upgrades that they've made. We like to keep you informed of what we're doing. That's our newsletter. We also have a presence on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, you can see past webinars. We have some short videos that show you how to do little different features that we have. And this is great to be involved with Sefaria in that way. We are a nonprofit, and we are supported by foundations and individuals who like our work. You can make a donation through here. We have several different ways of donating. You can make a one-time donation. We have a sustainer program where people who commit to a certain amount every month, you can decide your amount. And we also have a day sponsor, which today we do have a day sponsor. So I'm going to show it to you what it looks like. If you might have noticed, every time we were at the library page, there's a dedication. And this you can have for some people do it in memory of somebody. My husband and I did it in honor of our son's wedding. It was really nice to have to give them a public mazel tov, and it was fun to see who found out that they got married based on their Sefaria usage. So that is an option as well, and you can do all of that and find out about everything from our donating button. We have a Sefaria store. You can buy some Sefaria swag. We have sweatshirts and t-shirts and fun things. For the educators who are watching, we have an educator page, which I'm going to show you, but actually before, because that's going to take me someplace else, I want to point out that we do have an free Android app and iOS. You can get them from here, or you can get them from the Play Store, the Apple Store, and you can put those on your computer. I'm going to show you the teaching page. And here you can sign up for a different newsletter. This is an additional newsletter from the education staff that we send with educator information, things that we think that you might be interested in. So that's a great way to keep up with us. Here we have links to our professional development. We run a free online, do at your own pace, 10-session Sefaria training course. If you complete it, you will be a Sefaria certified educator. We'll send you a certificate. We have other examples of how teachers use Sefaria. We have special webinars for educators. We have a few special features on the site that we have sheets that explain how to use them here. So this is another place for you to be finding out some information about Sefaria especially for educators. So that's our homepage, and tons of information. Spend some time clicking around. Up on the top here, also to the left of the profile page, is the notification. Now, nothing new has happened since the last time I clicked on it. I'm one of those people that likes to always, go back to zero. So if something overnight, maybe we added some text. It would be in red with the number of texts, and I would click on it, and I would see what the team was doing while I was sleeping to enhance Sefaria. I will take quick questions, and I want to show you, stay on for a minute after. I want to show you one of our very cool, fun features that you might like.
All right, we don't have any questions coming into the chat. If anyone has one, please feel free to put it in the chat and we can answer it for you. But in the meantime, I think, Rachel, you can go ahead to the next piece.
Great, so this is a really fun thing. You've now gotten the whole introduction. You can open and search and read and learn, but I want to show you something that's very cool about digitizing the whole library. And we have such creative engineers who are always thinking of what can I do that I couldn't do before with digitized text. And this is one of our first visualizations, and it's so popular and so interesting that I'm going to show you this one. This one shows you all of the connections between Talmud and Tanakh. So the Talmud is quoting Tanakh all the time. And so they thought, well, let's see what it looks like. This is certainly not something that you can find from reading a book. But what they did was, on the top, they have all of the books of the Tanakh. So in Torah is in blue, Nevi'im is in orange, Ketuvim is in red, the writings, the prophets, Torah. And on the bottom, all of the different tractates, the Masechtot of the Talmud. And each line is a time when the Talmud quotes the Tanakh. And so I'm going to zoom in on something to make it a little bit easier to see. We've been talking about Rosh Hashanah, so I'm going to click on Masechet Rosh Hashanah, the tractate of Rosh Hashanah. And so it's interesting to think, before I clicked, I could have thought, well, what do you think the tractate of Rosh Hashanah, where do you think it's going to be quoting from the Tanakh? And I might have thought about it and thought, well, it might be quoting someplace in the Torah where it talks about Rosh Hashanah. It might be, I don't know, I might see. So here I can look at it, I can say, look at, there's a whole bunch of them that are pointing right here. So let's see what that is. And that happens to be the book of Leviticus. And in the book of Leviticus is where all the holidays are mentioned. And I can go anywhere I want. I can click on any of these threads. There, I'm going to click on one, and it's going to take me to that connection. And then I can see what the connection is. And I'm going to click on it, and it's going to be in the Tanakh, in Leviticus, and here they are. And again, I can go into the full thing, and I can see that they quoted this verse. So it's just like very interesting to play around, play with the buttons, see what they're quoting. Or I could go the other way and I could say, they're quoting from the book of Micah. What could they possibly be doing? And try to guess. And what were they talking about when they used that quote? Then they started doing this with Tanakh and Talmud, and then started thinking, okay, what other ones could be interesting? And there's all kinds of connections like this. We have other visualizations. We call these our visualizations. If I'm on the library page, I can go down a little further down and go to visualizations and see all of the visualizations that our engineers have come up with. And it's just fascinating to see what you can do with digitized text. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of you and say hello. And thank you all for coming. I'll stand if somebody does have a question that now came to them. I would be happy to answer. Also, again, if you have questions, I encourage you to try it all out. And when you see, I know when I'm doing it and I see somebody do it, it all makes so much sense. And then I sit in front of the computer and it's like, I forgot it all. So don't worry. We have places for you to look for help. And when all else fails, you can email us. It'll probably be me answering you back, hello@sefaria.org. So thank you for spending an hour with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it.
Rachel, we have someone requesting to just see the topics page again, how you got to the topics page,
Sure.
And then how you refined your search from there.
Great. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so how I got to the topic page. So there's lots of ways to do it. So if I know what topic I'm looking for, I might want to just type it in So let's say this time we'll do Yom Kippur. I can type it in, and if it has a hashtag before it, that's a topics page. And one of the things that's nice, it's kind of good for the people who have a lot of time and kind of get distracted. Once I look at all these great things that came up as topic pages, because I typed Yom Kippur and I started with the KIPP, it even got me to Kippah. So, there's all kinds of places I'd like to go. So that's one way. Another way is from the library page. And there we have, looks like I accidentally changed to Hebrew. I will go back to English. So here I could go to topics here, which will give me wider categories. I could look through that, or I could go to all topics. And here I could also search topics here if I type in here, or I can look for tags if I'm just kind of looking around for something good to study today. So those are the ways that you can get to the topics page.
And once you're on a topics page,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you sort of change how your search results are showing up or filter them even more?
Okay, so we have it divided sources and sheets. So on sources, I can click, so this is prayer, and I can, this is another thing that it's so good that you asked. I can click filter, and I have another search bar. I could put another search topic, but I might want to say, I'm interested in prayer only in the Talmud. So I can click now in my search bar, I'll do Talmud, and now it just brought me all of the Talmud. These are all Talmud sources. Oh, those of you who stayed on, that was a smart move because I forgot to mention that before. So that is a way to filter, or I could filter by, let's say it's prayer, and maybe I want to do, I have no idea if this is going to come up with anything. Let's say I want to do Amida. So yeah, whoops, not with an H. So here I can do it that way, but I also can sort by relevance, which this is, we get how do we find which texts they are? They're from our public source sheets where the tags are. So if it's somebody's written a source sheet and tagged it prayer and they use this verse, then that's gonna, if a lot of people did it, it'll go to the top. We also used an encyclopedia called, this one, it tells you, the 3 dots here, it tells you why is it connected. So this is connected through the tags by Sefaria users. But other ones, let's see if I can get another one. We used an encyclopedia called Aspeclaria. And so those are the 2 big sources. So it'll always tell you, why is this here? Sometimes there's something really weird. It doesn't seem like it even belongs there. You can email us and ask us, and maybe it doesn't, and we can take it off. So, so that's by relevance, and chronological is going to start with the earliest text. So Torah text, Genesis first, and if I keep going down, well, there's a lot of Exodus. Let's see if we can get out of Torah. There's a lot of texts that are prayer. I guess I picked a pretty popular one. Here we're in prophets, but if I were to keep going, sorry if I'm going to make you dizzy, I'm going to scroll fast to get out of Tanakh. Now here we are in the Mishnah, and it's going to go, now we're in the Talmud, and now we're in other places. Now you'll notice that here we don't always have a translation. So if you're on the English website, it is going to always prioritize ones with translations over ones without translation. And then the same thing can happen with sheets. With sheets, you have a little bit different filtering. You can filter, you can do another sub search. You can search by relevance. That's the same thing we have. We could search by number of views. So if you want to see the more popular ones on the top, I can click by number of views, or I might be interested in the newest ones. Also because the newest ones are not going to have the most views because they're newer. So, so that's interesting too, that you can find the newer ones. So you can, those are all of your filtering for sheets. How's that?
That was great. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anything else? I just suggest you play around with it, see what you can do. When you get stuck, look at the FAQ pages to see if those have screenshots and GIFs. So see if we have it there, and when all else fails, but you don't have to work too hard before you write us. Just write us. I'm happy to point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We hope that you got a lot out of this. And if you, like Rachel said, if you still have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are always here to help.